All right, hello. Welcome back to a Saturday edition here on the Chase Thomas podcast. It's Preds Power Hour on a Saturday. First time ever in, a year? Have we been doing this show for a year now?
But over a year, I think.
Over a year? Okay.
Yeah.
A little bit over a year now. We've never had breaking news, like right before we got recorded. Like, we've never had like an emergency Preds pod, because news either happens like the day after we record a podcast or a couple days before. It's never actually happened the day of. And we actually have some breaking news that we can react to right out of the gate. And to do that, of course, we have Bryan Bastin of ontheforecheck.com. Bryan, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's I guess I shouldn't be surprised that this happened today, because this week is going to be very, very busy here in Nashville. But I do want to talk about. I have a special guest here with me too. If I haven't shown this off well enough, little piece of hand custom art.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's our boy.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, Arson Hockey on Twitter, by the way, incredible artist. This came in Thursday, and I'm going to go get it framed here this weekend. So I've got Askarov here. He's here on the show now, so permanent guest.
Wow. This is, that's top-notch stuff right there.
It's dope, isn't it?
This is why you go to youtube.com/Chase Thomas Podcast.
Yes.
Because you get the visual of what we're talking about here, because this is a visual medium, not just an audio medium.
That's right. I forgot about that. It's a picture. It's our boy. It's our Russian son, Mr. Yaroslav Askarov, who unfortunately didn't finish the season. But
well, he will be a goalie one going into next year, as many are saying.
Goalie one. Oh gosh, yeah, we're not talking about that.
Also here, Flames Nation, Pinstripe Alley, Jeff Middleton. Jeff, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good. You know, I'm ready to kick us off with some Johansen stuff. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, he's got that, because all Jeff's had to write about in hockey is just that, like, oh, the Flames just promoted from within, and they're just to be fair, this last week and a half has been pretty much all prospects, so I am not complaining, but also it's kind of boring with the Flames up there. The Preds though, we're over here like we don't know what's going to happen day to day.
Barry Trotz is like fast, speed, you're hired, you're fired, get out of here. Like he's all over the place.
I don't know if any of us had George Steinbrenner as a comp for Barry Trotz as a GM, but maybe that is who Barry Trotz.
Maybe I hope Barry Trotz is a little nicer than George Steinbrenner.
Yeah, well, let's hope. Well, you alluded to it, Jeff. Bryan, what happened 30 minutes ago in terms of Preds country? What trade just went down?
Yeah, so long-time Nashville Predator, I think 6 years on his current contract. He made it through. Ryan Johansen, first-line center, part of the defunct now, the Jofa line back in the days of Johansen, Forsberg, and Arvidsson, has been traded. Something that has been, make a rumor, I guess, every offseason for maybe the last 4 years. The Predators moved his $8 million contract with 2 years left to the Colorado Avalanche. They will be retaining 50% of his salary, so they'll be saving $4 million over the next 2 years in exchange for Alex Galchenyuk, which, as my comrade Jeff pointed out before, has played for 8 teams in his career so far.
Oh yeah.
In order, those are Montreal, which he peaked in Montreal back in the 2015-2016 season. I mean, incredible year, and then he's been basically below or at replacement level since then with Arizona, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Toronto, Ottawa, Arizona again, and then Colorado. So he's been around, but I think, and Jeff will kind of fill you in on this one, is this was a move that's not really about the trade itself or what they got in return, but I think it's a business move. Wouldn't you agree, Jeff?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, this had to happen. I don't know. I mean, I'm scrolling through Twitter and everybody's kind of like, what? Why? What? And I'm over here like, what? To their what? But I don't know anyone that has said that this wasn't going to happen. I mean, everybody knew that this was going to happen. Maybe they didn't think that it was going to happen this soon. Especially, and the Preds don't really need to relieve that cap space technically right now. They have enough. Mm-hmm. But I think the point is, and I'm gonna tweet this out, but like Barry Trotz wants to make this team fast and skilled and young. And Ryan Johansen, while he is sort of skilled at this point in his career, he can still pass the puck with the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's not either of those other things. So what is having him on your roster for $8 million a year do to help that goal? And it's nothing. Like he is not contributing to the overall philosophy that Barry Trotz wants to incorporate in the Nashville Predators. And if he doesn't see that that's a fit, then bye-bye, Ryan. I mean, that's just kind of what has to happen. And I hate it because Ryan Johansen has been the vibes guy for years and years and years. And there is no reason not to love Ryan Johansen. Like, he is, from everything we have been able to see, he is a great dude, and he's super fun, and he's a jokester at heart. But I mean, this is the tough business part of the sport where good people get shipped off when they're aging and they're not helping their team win. And Ryan Johansen was not helping this team win, especially not for $8 million. And you can talk about how they might not need the cap space, but $4 million goes a long way. And if that helps them get a guy who can help them win, or is young and can help them win in the future, by all means. I don't think anybody's going to be confused when Barry Trotz goes. I mean, because Barry Trotz isn't doing this to just do this. Like, there's reasoning behind it. So let's just say I'm not really worried about what Barry Trotz has in store after this move. I think it's just a case of, we have a direction for this team and you don't fit that direction. And as much as you have helped here and done for this franchise, we're just going to have to move you. And I'm sure Ryan Johansen understands that.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like, I'll give credit, because a lot of people have been down on Johansen for a while, and it's understandable. I think, even he's not been an analytics darling. I'll say that, mostly because I think a lot of his value does lie in his ability to make plays and pass and things like that. And that's something that's just not captured by models right now because we don't have that data. But, we go through his career and you look, yes, like with his time with the Predators, starting with the middle of the 15-16 season, he's been decent. I think that he's not the player that they expected him to be when they traded for him. However, he's been pretty integral. So if you look at looking at some of his totals, he never had, in his career with the Predators, never had more than a 15-goal season until last season. Or 2 seasons ago, the 21-22 season, which was probably by far his best of his entire career. 26 goals, 63 points, which was 1 point behind his career high back in 18-19 when he had 64 points with just 14 goals. So, I mean, he does have a lot. And last season was a bit of a renaissance for him, or the 2 seasons ago was a bit of a renaissance for him, as well as guys like Forsberg and Duchesne. But yeah, I mean, I think this was just a case of, this is a guy that was brought in by Poile. It was a trade that at the time, both teams, that benefited both teams. I think that Nashville came out ahead on that trade as history, if you look back. And, it's unfortunate, but from what I was hearing here, if he wasn't moved this summer, there was a pretty strong possibility that he was going to get bought out. And I heard this from the same person who, the only other time they've ever told me anything like this was about Kyle Turris getting bought out. So I think that Nashville,
trustworthy source.
Yes. And I think that Nashville, this is much better, $4 million of the next 2 years. That's better than doing, what do they do for when they do a buyout? Isn't it is it 50% over the double the time or something?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they are paying 50% of his remaining salary, correct?
Right. But I think let me double check. Yeah. So it's
because Kyle Turris has his contract, like they pay him until 2028 or something like that.
Yeah. So there's a buyout calculator I can go check, but basically, so 2/3 of the remaining salary, basically over twice the remaining length. So they would have basically paid 16 million. They probably would have paid 12 million over the next 4 years. So yeah, it would have been probably a little bit less per year, maybe 3. but they would have been on the hook for 4 years, and they've got buyouts already on the books. So they've got Kyle Turris's, which is going to be going for a while. As you said, Jeff. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Yeah, they still have dead cap on Joey and Ekholm, which I think those are because those are both retained salaries from the trades. But I mean, you don't want to start by having to buy out guys and have that dead weight hanging on it, because they have to spend the next 2 years paying half of Johansen's salary. But once that's done, it's done. 2 years is probably what the window that the organization is looking at it to kind of get things stable and get things back on track. And so that's good that they get to do this. But I think this is actually, I don't know. I mean, unless you were expecting some type of great return, you got to be happy as a Predators fan. Yes, not happy because I will miss Johansen too. I loved him as a player. He's a great guy to talk to in the locker room. He's exactly what you think he might be. He'd be like talking to him. Just real cool, real funny dude. And so he'll definitely be missed in this city a lot. His dogs were very big stars of their own right for a long time there too. And we're gonna miss him. But if you're a Preds fan, this is not something to be upset about or be worried about at all.
Well, it's also interesting for Colorado, right? Like, he's going to be in a pretty big role on a team that wants to win now. This is going to be a very different situation for Johansen, and he's playing for a coach he actually played under 10 years ago in the AHL. So there is some crossover there with
Good
Jared
pull,
Bednar.
Chase.
Huh?
Good pull.
Yeah, so that's from Mark Sheik. I can't. I was going through different things. That's notes I pulled.
Colorado fixed their 2C problem. I'll say that right now. Second line center is now filled.
Yeah.
And
so is it a good fit? Do you like him in Colorado?
I mean, I think Jared Bednar can make anybody good. I think that system is just fantastic. Like, I think they play a really fun brand of hockey, and I think at this point for $4 million, I don't think it's a bad fit. I think that him getting a defined second line center role. It's not this, 1-2 with Matt Duchene or whoever. That Nathan McKinnon's the first line center, or Gabe Landeskog if he's coming back or whatever.
Right. That was going to be my question, was about
Landeskog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it also forces a guy like Alex Newhook to have a lesser role, which, isn't necessarily a good thing, but it's not a bad thing either. I think Newhook's still young. I think he's really talented. I think he's a really good player. And it doesn't force him to have to do too much. You have a guy like Johansen that can just step in and kind of take over that second line role and be kind of in charge of the middle six. But yeah, I mean, I like the fit. I think it's going to be good for Johansen. It's a little change of scenery. And I think the Avs got a still capable NHL middle six player for $4 million.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real benefit for him. One, just because he's got a lot of weapons around him now, and that playmaking ability. Like, I don't expect him to go and have a points explosion. Like, as far as his goals, like I could see it. I mean, it's Colorado. He could get 20 or more goals, but I don't think so. But I would not be surprised if he hit 70 points playing for that team. But I could also very well see him starting the season off as 2C and then being moved back maybe or something like that, and moving him out to wing or something, because there's just so much talent in Colorado. And you got young guys like Alex Newhook. You're not going to want to shelter him the entire season. You're going to want to push him out there, get him ice time against higher competition. And I think it's a low risk chance for Colorado. They lost basically nothing. So, a Newhook was barely, or not Newhook, I'm sorry. Goyenchuk was, I don't think he played 100 minutes last season for them. So he was mostly in the AHL. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I mean, he's a Predator now. This is a guy that was drafted 4th overall, or 3rd overall. I'm sorry, in the 2012 draft. Johansen was actually drafted 4th overall a couple years later, I believe. But this is a guy who's kind of bounced around. He got a deal with Montreal back after his strong season at worth $4.9 million. And now his last 2 contracts have been league minimum $750,000 by Arizona and Colorado. Last season, he played 11 games, no points, had a -8, 4 penalty minutes, played 42 games with the Eagles. prior to that, he played almost a full season with the Coyotes, 60 games, 6 goals, 15 assists for 21 points, and 32 penalty minutes. So more penalty minutes than points. But I mean, this is gonna be a guy that will likely going to spend a lot of time in Milwaukee. I mean, I don't see him coming in and stepping in and doing anything that, you know, for the Predators that the Predators don't already have. Like if they're looking for like a bottom 6 player, they've got a bunch of those already, and they don't necessarily need a guy like Chuck. I mean, he's got some ability left, but I mean, he's a shadow of what he used to be, you know, back in when he scored 30 goals for Montreal.
Oh, Jeff, you're muted.
Yeah, I guess I forgot to turn that button off. But I got a question. Just kind of popped into my mind. But would you guys be opposed if this $4 million helps contribute to the Alex DeBrincat fund?
Well, it's funny you say that because that's what a lot of people are wondering. It's either DeBrincat or Bailey were the two names that have popped up immediately following this.
I would say DeBrincat, but I think the market's pretty going to get pretty high for him. Which
yeah,
I mean, I've always liked him. I think that he would be an excellent addition. But there's also going to be a bunch of, you know, yeah, I would do it, by the way, Jeff, just to answer your question.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. You know, he's got that's the right combination. You know, every time I've said something this offseason, I'm worried because every time I say like this guy, like I think would be a great ad, he gets signed by somebody else. But again,
does he fit what Barry Trotz wants? Do you think he?
I think so.
Yeah,
okay.
He's young. He's 25. He's scored 40 goals twice. He's a good skater. Like
for him, does it make sense? From his vantage point?
Nashville's on his list apparently.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good spot. I mean, he'll probably have to understand that it's going to take a year or two before they're going to be, you know, in contention for anything. But yeah, I mean, I think it's you know, maybe his standards are a little bit lower because, you know, considering who he just played for a while. But you know, it's I'm glad to hear that Nashville was on the list. But I get the feeling that's going to be they're going to have to pony up some cash, I think, for a guy like that. And that the decision is do you want to start sinking long-term money into anybody now? And I don't know what Trott's thinking about that. Nobody really does so far. So it'll be curious to see.
Well, and we could probably put a bow on it here with this freed up money. You know, Trotz is going to be interested in bringing back some Miles. Which one do you think is most likely, and which one would you actually most want to see in a Preds uniform that has been an Islander under Trotz?
Matthew Barzal.
Yes, you stole it.
That's a good question. I'm
trying to think about who would be available.
Yeah, I know, because I don't know what their contract situation is.
Like, Josh Bailey has been thrown out there.
I don't know. I don't know about that one yet. I'd have to look more into it. I think it could be something, but there's not a ton of guys like, I mean, like Varlamov, like they're not going to go get him. Like they don't need, you know, somebody like that. You know, there was Panic, I think, is available.
Matt Martin. No.
Matt Martin. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting. So like you look at guys, you could also look at guys like, you know, that came from Florida too, like, you know, because they had Predators hired Derek McKenzie, a guy that I thought might still be playing as a player until fairly recently. But you know, there's guys in there with Florida. He was also in Sudbury last season, you know, so there's guys like that. And I'm trying to think again, I'm not as familiar with some of these guys that Florida might be. There's always a Radko Gudas, but he's 33. That'd be a fun ad. It wouldn't make much sense. Yeah. It wouldn't make much sense as far as like what they're trying to do, but it would just be kind of like, yeah, all right. I mean, just he's really
complete antithesis of what happens or what's going to happen with this team,
which is awesome because you would think that that's the exact kind of move the Nashville Predators would make.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've turned over a new leaf. I mean, but you got guys in Florida. I mean, you know, you could get Patrick Hornqvist, 36. God. The man's my age. Oh God. But yeah, I mean, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, Bailey could be a good option. I just don't see them taking a swing on guys. I think that if it was me and I was trying to adopt this philosophy, is I would sit on about because they've got 19. Let me make sure here. They've got $19.6 million in cap space now. They still only, I think they have like maybe like 19 roster spots right now, but they've got plenty. So sit on 10, 12 million of it and wait till the deadline. I think that they're going to come out looking a lot stronger. And honestly, if I'm another team right now, looking at what Nashville has as far as draft picks and stuff like that, I'd be a little bit more stingy, or at least asking for a whole lot more. Nashville kind of moves into more of a position of power if they can start this season with the mindset that we're going to be players at the deadline. We're going to be doing, we're going to be scouting early. Like, this is what we're working towards, because I think that's where the good deals are made. That's where you save some money and you make trades. Like, you get to be on the opposite side of a trade where you're taking on a guy and they're taking on a player that takes up a lot of money or something like that. And so, Barry Trotz wants to rebuild this team. This is what people have shouted for a long time, and it's happening now. And it's, and so really anything could happen. And again, I still expect this probably to be the first trade of this week of, I'm going to say the over under on number of trades, even if they're like minor trades or draft trades. I'd say 7.5. Because I think they're going to, and I'm going to take the over on that, because I get the feeling that they are going to make a bunch of trades for AHL level guys, or they may move up, a few spots up or down to, stockpile a bunch of 7th round picks or some future considerations, which I always think is hilarious that you can just say like, no, we're just sending him there. Like, we're not getting anything back. And I know officially, like, you're supposed to, I guess, do something later on, but it's, but so there's guys out there, but I don't know that the whole taking a big swing on somebody other than like DeBrincat or something like that is going to be in the works. There's also always a younger, really high skill player in Evan Rodriguez that might be out there too, but just we haven't really brought him up before, so I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
I like it.
Big fan. Brian's a big fan.
I am.
Well, so Bryan, we have some awards conversations we need to get to. Big week in Nashville, Tennessee, NHL Awards. So I think I'll leave this to you and Jeff, y'all's NHL Awards leading up to this big week.
All right, so I guess we can kind of go through this a little bit quicker. But Jeff, I'll give you the awards and the nominees, and tell me who you think, and then I'll give you mine.
Is it who I think or who I'd pick?
Oh, that's a good question. You can say both if it's a different.
Okay,
answer.
I'll say okay.
All right, so let's see. So I don't think we really need to. I mean, we could talk about the Masterson and the King Clancy, but those are kind of not really one. So let's skip over those. Jim Gregory, General Manager of the Year. So up for it is Jim Neal of the Dallas Stars, Don Sweeney of the Boston Bruins, and Bill Zito of the Florida Panthers. I think I know what the answer should be from both of us on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be Don Sweeney, right?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, Zito makes a really strong argument, I would say, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Don Sweeney for the season that the Bruins had. So I don't think that's
just around it. I think I picked Don Sweeney too. I mean,
the Selke Trophy, the award that is. Oh boy. I always enjoy it, but there is honestly, it should be named the Patrice Bergeron Trophy.
Yeah.
Nico Hischier and Mitch Marner, who was just at, what was it, a Taylor or Shania Twain concert last night on stage? Yeah. It was. Hockey players look so goofy in the real world sometimes, and he is definitely one of them. So yeah, who do you think's going to win the Selke?
I think Patrice Bergeron. Whenever he's,
and he deserves it, like every single time.
Yeah,
I think he deserves it.
Not like he's never, like, it's not like he's just been there because he hasn't been good.
Yeah.
He's always really good.
All right, so Jack Adams, Dave Haxtell with the Seattle Kraken, Jim Montgomery of the Bruins, and Lindy Ruff of the New Jersey Devils.
See, this one's a little harder.
I'll tell you. I will say that I have different answers for who I would pick and who will win.
I would probably pick. If I was voting, I would probably pick Dave Haxtell, but I think Jim Montgomery's going to get it.
Same answer. Yep. Haxtell, honestly, why Ron Francis?
Because Lindy Ruff just got better goaltending this year.
Yes, he did.
That's where,
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe that GM, Ron Francis wasn't up for that one too. I mean, not that he was going to win, but the work that they've done up there in Seattle has been pretty incredible. All right. Calder Trophy.
Oh
Matty
boy, here we
Beniers
go.
for Seattle, Owen Power for Buffalo, and Stuart Skinner for the Edmonton Oilers.
It's Beniers. It has to be Beniers.
I think so too. I think absolutely. I think he had a great year. I mean, it's not a strong like Calder class as we've seen in previous years, but Beniers has been about what you expected of a guy like him. I think they've got to be pretty happy with him, and to have all these Seattle players showing up in the awards, and it's pretty impressive. So
Yeah.
Okay, so we can talk about the Ted Lindsay, which is that I believe that's the one that's voted on
the
by
most outstanding player voted on by the players. Yeah.
Yep. So up for that are obviously Connor McDavid, David Pastrnak, and Erik Karlsson.
It's McDavid. It has to be McDavid.
The players aren't very creative.
Yeah.
They really do settle with like, oh, this is the guy. Just because, I mean, I imagine that if you're lining up against this guy, you're kind of like, oh, that's the one that gives me nightmares.
As much as you give
boring nightmares.
As much as you give respect to Erik Karlsson, nobody is worried about Erik Karlsson like they are McDavid.
Right.
Like, well, I think McDavid's just like
he's a step above. So speaking of Karlsson, Norris Trophy, Karlsson, Adam Fox of the Rangers, and Cale Makar of the Avs. I think I'm pretty sure it's a no-brainer at this point.
I'm gonna go off the board here, not off the board, but they're gonna pick Erik Karlsson.
Yes, they will.
But I think I'd have Cale Makar.
I was gonna say I've been actually leaning a little bit more towards Adam Fox, to be honest.
Really?
But I really like his game and the way that he's grown this last season. I don't know that he wouldn't win. Like I would say it'd be one of those where it's like I'm giving this dude respect just because he had a great year, but Karlsson's going to win in a landslide, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so
I think Cale Makar's only problem is that he didn't play as many games.
Yeah,
like he missed time. And what's insane to me is I was looking at his numbers the other day. They are like on pace to be around where Karlsson was, both analytically and in the box score. Like he technically had a better season than he had last year when he won.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just,
did he win last year?
Did he win last year? I don't remember. I don't think he did.
No, I'm thinking 2 years ago. I'm being salty about Yossi.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he did win last year. Yeah. See, I'm not an idiot. You just got me. You just got me reverse psychology in myself.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to save the most important award for last. So let's talk about the Hart Trophy next.
All right.
Hart Trophy, most valuable player: Connor McDavid, David Pastrnak, Matthew Tkachuk. Interesting. It's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Because I would say Tkachuk had a great year, but I think he really kind of pushed his profile over during the playoffs. Is that enough for you, Jeff?
I think Connor McDavid's going to win this one. Like, I don't think there's no debate on that one.
Yeah.
But
is he now in the Mike Trout zone where he's just never going to play important games and he's just going to be universally understood to be the best player and people are just going to have fatigue where it's like, but Tkachuk is the best story this year, but also like we know that he's not better than
it's
Connor
like that
McDavid.
tweet, tweet about Mike Trout and the one about, he's done something for the first time in like 150 years. And
he was like that when he scored, I think it was 128 points. Everybody was kind of just like, no, all right. Like I was like, dude, he has 128 points, by the way.
No, this season though, 153.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So he's gonna win. But if I'm going off of what I think the most valuable player is, I think it's Matthew Tkachuk.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Connor McDavid is obviously second. He can't be lower than second on anybody's ballot. Otherwise, I question. But honestly, you're doing.
Most valuable player. Again, and I hate this because this is the same argument I used to get mad about when they would talk about Marino and stuff like that. It's like, well, where's your rings? But like, at some point you have to be like, Tkachuk pushed that team over the edge. He did exactly what we debated for. All those times we talked about Tkachuk when he was on the market. He did exactly what you want a player like that to do. He came in and carried that team and pushed that team through. And almost to all the way to the cup. That's to me, that's valuable. McDavid's had his chances.
I had him first even before the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, I think he delivers something to that team that we haven't really seen in a while. Like, I think he's not only a guy who's going to score a bunch of points. And honestly, the point differential between him and I think it was Carter Verhaeghe, who was second on that team, was reminiscent of 2018-19 New Jersey Devils Taylor Hall.
Yep.
Like where he just, destroyed everybody and his teammates were just kind of left in the dust.
Mm-hmm.
But he pushed that team over the edge. Like they were not in a playoff spot with like 2 or 3 weeks left in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't just him, but they turned on. Like he led that charge. Like I think there's something to that.
Yeah. Well, we have one more award. It's for the I guess it's the award, the Vezina Trophy for the second best goaltender in the NHL.
For the highest goals against, or for the lowest goals against average in the NHL.
Yes, for the top 3 guys when you sort the list by save percentage. There's Connor Hellebuck of the Winnipeg Jets, Ilya Sorokin of the New York Islanders, and is it Linus Ullmark of the Boston Bruins. And left out of that list, again, I'm not necessarily mad because I think UC Saros should have won this year, but to have him not be a finalist is
on the list,
is utterly ridiculous. I mean, I would say, if anything, it's like I don't think he's getting in like in place of Sorokin or Ullmark, but I think he had a better year than Hellebuck by far, but whatever, it's fine. I'm not mad.
He had a better year than Linus Ullmark too. I'm just gonna say
yes, he did. So Jeff, you already know. I think that I'm going to tell you that I have 2 answers for who's going to win and who should win out of these 3. But I want to know what you think.
Well, Linus Ullmark's going to win,
mm-hmm.
and I think Ilya Sorokin should win.
I'm going to say, as much as I get mad about Saros, I think Ilya Sorokin has been the best goaltender in the NHL all season with a higher workload. I mean, he's, again, like we're looking at like the defensive, like the metrics as far as like the teams in front of him. Like Sorokin and Saros had just...
I think the difference between him and Saros and goals saved above expected was like actually kind of big.
Yeah, it was like he did towards the end of the season. I'll look it up right now, but towards the end of the season, they narrowed the gap quite a bit. But I mean, Sorokin was much
at one point close to the difference between Saros and second and third place.
Yeah, so like Saros led for Evolving Hockey, led all goaltenders in goals above replacement with 52. Sorokin was at 49, Ullmark at 45, and Hellebuck at 38. Sorokin was the strongest goaltender at 5-on-5 even strength. Saros was the strongest goaltender by quite a bit, shorthanded. So that's kind of where the differences lay. But looking at goals saved above, let's take a look. I want to say, like I said, I think it was like a 12 or 13 goal difference at one point. Yeah, so they brought it down. So Sorokin was 51 goals saved above expected. Saros was 46. So 5 goals difference. Yeah, so I mean, they narrowed it down. But I mean, again, like that's just where it gets me upset is that like Hellebuck didn't have a better season than Saros, I think, by any metric. I really don't think they did, and he did. So, and just to ignore the season that Saros has, because he legitimately could have been, a very close second place in this race, and probably should be. Because no disrespect for what Ullmark did, because he had an incredible season, but I just don't think he faced the workload that even Hellebuck did.
I don't think it was close either.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to win it, but I don't think necessarily that he's the most deserving out of these 3. So, but we'll find out. I'll find out in person here next week, and still mad because I thought I was going to get to see Keenan Thompson at the NHL Awards, but no, get Doug Bentley, so that's fine. But yeah, so I mean, that's the last of the fake awards, the fraud awards that the NHL is going to be handing out. It's unfortunate. I kind of thought Saros would make it just for the fact that they were hosting the awards in Nashville. Yeah. I kind of thought they'd throw him in there as well. But yeah, and there's going to be a lot of stuff this coming week. So awards are just part of it. Unfortunately, Nashville's not involved in any of it, but it'll be cool to watch, and it's cool that it's in town again.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of things that are in town and things that are cool that people need to be, specifically Preds fans need to be up to date on, it's not just the players who might be leaving this team that Barry Trotz might be kicking out. I hope UC Saros is renting at the moment. You never know.
You got to stop with that, Chase. You're going to manifest it.
I know. But also, the Preds are going to have a really, really exciting draft, I think, for the first time in a while where, I mean, Jeff, you alluded to this a few weeks ago, where it's like they've been solid. Like, it hasn't actually been bad drafts year over year. It's just now you have no idea what to expect because it's full on best player available, speed, different kind of mind in the room making these picks. I think this is probably one of the most exciting Preds drafts in maybe in what how many years has it been since you just haven't been this excited about what the Preds are going to do? When was the last time y'all were this excited and Preds fans have been this intrigued by the draft?
The Askarov year.
Okay.
Yeah, 11th overall.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
2020, 3 years.
I
And
got
even
over
probably before that. It was like 20.
right after the Cup.
Yeah, I mean that there
Tolman.
wasn't. Yeah, Tolvanen was 2017, 2018.
Yeah, they couldn't believe that he fell down that far. So,
Well, well, what are the areas of need and who? This is a two-parter because it's like who do we think Trot should target and who do you think, based on what he said thus far, he's going to target early in this draft?
I would say areas of need are yes. Well, I mean, goaltending.
No, seriously, yeah.
I mean, goaltending they don't necessarily need. I think that they're going to. I don't know that. Devin Cooley has already said he was going to leave or test for the market. For Milwaukee. You don't know. What's his name? I can't remember. Who is the second goaltender? Oh my god. They just re-signed for another year for us for Nashville. What? Who is our? It's not. I keep wanting to say Dave Riddick, and it's not. It's
Kevin Lankinen.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. Edit that out,
you were
please.
talking about Milwaukee's second goal.
No, that was Cooley.
Isn't it?
That's sad. Yeah, edit that out if you can. If not, oh well. But
it's okay. It's okay. We're human beings. It adds flavor to this podcast.
No, but Kevin Lankinen is so nice to me, and I feel real bad.
The listeners and the watchers just understood now that we are not perfect. We don't know everything.
But no, I mean, like, I think that you've got a ton of options that like you can go with, and you want, so you've got your core. You've got Roman Josi, defensively, who's that main core guy. You've got Philip Forsberg and Matt Duchene, who are your core offensively, with a bunch of young guys. And honestly, if you look at, I mean, for me, and again, I'm working. I've been doing a lot of research to try to catch up with you guys as far as draft prep goes, but they don't have the decor is getting pretty thin.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like the defense. If you're gonna talk about one position of need, it's defense.
I mean, like, I can't. That's why I'm not worried about Alex Carrier still not having an offer, as an RFA, because I absolutely think he continues to be an absolute steal for the Predators. And he's earned his spot. I mean, he's playing for a while. He was playing like the second best defenseman on the team. So I think he's a guy that they're going to bring back, but I think they really got to start shoring up, the pipeline defensively. Cause I don't think they've got that guy that's a, breakout dude that's just waiting in the AHL or waiting in juniors, to be honest.
I would agree.
I mean, because there's plenty of forward talent, like potential talent.
Yeah, I mean, the question then is how much of that is going to graduate to the NHL, and how much of that are they going to have to shore up this year and next year? Like, I think we know where this team is headed. We saw it last year. So as much as there's not a ton of defensive talent in the pipeline, one could argue that in the next couple of years there won't be much forward talent either, because it's all going to be in the NHL.
Right.
So do you stack that up do you even worry about it? I wouldn't worry about it. I'm always BPA, best player available.
Yeah.
Like
I think they're in a good position for that. I really do.
Especially in this draft, I think you kind of just have to roll with the punches and do BPA.
Yeah. Do you think that, at the first round pick, do you think there is a defenseman that's worth that high of a pick?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think Axel Sandin Pellikka, the guy I talked about, I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Swedish defenseman. I think he is really good. I have him ranked as the best defenseman in this draft.
Wow.
But I could see him falling to 15, and it's because he's small. He's 5'10", but he's so mobile. I know, small, as if that matters anymore. But who am I to judge? But yeah, he's so mobile. He is an excellent passer, great skater, great in transition. He walks the blue line like one. I mean, honestly, one of the best in zone defensemen I've watched in a while. I think. I mean, I think there's arguments for him to not be the best defenseman in the draft. Like some people have David Reinbacher as the best defenseman, but I think. I mean, I've just watched Axel Sandin-Pellikka. You know, he came into the J20 National League and just tore apart everyone in
that's
his
not
in
an
his
easy
own
league
age
to
group.
do that in either.
No.
Like it's not an easy league to
No.
do that in.
But yeah, he ripped that league to shreds. And like I just he's impressed me so much. And I think if he's still there at 15, I think obviously it's depending on who else is on the board, but I think he has to be really considered if he's still up there.
Do you think if the Predators if they go defenseman at with the first pick, do you think they're going to go forward with the next? And conversely, if they went forward, do you think they would try to target a defenseman at the end of the first round, like to make up, or is it truly just whoever is out there and whoever's best?
I think it could be either one. Like if they pick Sandin-Pellikka at 16 or at 15, I could see them taking a forward, and there's one forward that I think will fall that I am in love with, and it is Andrew Kristol. I am a huge Andrew Kristol fan, and there are legitimate concerns. He is a huge boomer bust prospect, and I understand that his skating is not great. He relies a lot on the 10-2 Mohawk stride to kind of open up lanes, but my God, his hands and the way he reads the ice, I just like. Here's the thing, like I think if you trust your coaching staff to work on somebody's skating, you take a huge swing at Andrew Kristol at 24, and I think that's just like, and again, obviously it depends on who is still on the board, but like there are some forwards that could fall to 24 that would be a huge pickup, like Riley Heidt. I just wrote about him.
I was gonna say I didn't think he'd make it that far, to be honest.
Well, I have him ranked around that area. I have him a little higher than 24, but he's flashy. He's a better skater than Kristol. He is chippy. He'll get in there. He's 5'10", but he'll get in there and he'll play physical. I mean, he's not as much of a poke the bear kind of player as Zach Leroux, but he's not afraid to play physically. His hands are so sweet. And he was tied with Connor Bedard for assists in the WHL this year at 72. Like, you don't just do that. That's just not something that just happens. Like, he was the third highest point scorer that's undrafted this year in the WHL. It was Bedard, and then I think it was Zach Benson.
Yep.
And then it was him. So, if he's at 24 still, I would say him or Andrew Kristol. I mean, there are a bunch of guys that could fall. Shala is one of them. I think he might be an interesting pick at 24. I think there's a lot of potential with these two picks. And I'm just going to go out and say it. I don't think the Preds should trade up unless something really good comes across the table.
So I've got two hypotheticals for you. And one of them is something that we've had to unfortunately come to terms with in the past couple of days. At 25 years old, center, last season, 27 goals, 63 points. Would you take one of those first round picks and pay, or would you put money to add Pierre-Luc Dubois to this team?
Absolutely not. No way.
Okay.
Nope. Hell
Not
no.
for the money he's asking for.
No, yeah. I mean, I personally would love to trade Ryan Johansen to add another Ryan Johansen, but it's like he's not worth $9 million. In what universe?
Last season he had more goals than Ryan Johansen's ever had in a season.
I mean, there you go.
There's
a lot of baggage that comes with him too. I just don't.
There was a lot of baggage that came with Ryan Johansen.
That's true.
You want to talk about having a guy that is not a great skater but making it in the league.
Yeah.
Joey
There you
wasn't
go.
the best skater in the world, and somebody even from the untrained eye like me could see that,
Yeah.
So, all right. So the second question is: you got a lot of draft picks. You've got a bunch of stuff coming up. Do you think Barry Trotz could try and pull a fast one on somebody's restricted free agent and give him an offer? I can tell you I can tell you some RFAs that are out there right now. I mean,
I am all for the offer sheet world. I have always been for that, and
was it the Senators years ago? Who was it who did the huge FU
was
RFA?
the Montreal Canadiens and Carolina Hurricanes.
That's who it was. Carolina. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
they offer sheeted Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
Yes.
Yep, and that's it because I
It's
can't
not very
think of any
common.
other famous
People don't do that.
offer sheets. There's never been any famous other
Never,
famous
nope,
offer
never
sheets.
famous.
Not
never
possibly one that we
any
could
other
still be
ones.
possibly paying for, years in the future. Definitely. In case you didn't know, Chase, the whole
The
Shea Web.
Flyers.
Yes, the Flyers. Yes, one of the many reasons I hate Philadelphia sports. I really my heart breaks for him right now. But but yeah, so Shea Weber, they put that offer sheet down on Shea Weber. It was, I can't remember the total right now, but basically what happens now is that if he retires, I think anytime before 3 years from now or 2 years from now, the Preds are on the hook for the rest of his like dead cap money. And it could be something like if he retires 1 year before the end of like his proposed deal was, Nashville will be paying like $24 million in cap space for one season.
Wow. And
it's one of those things. It's because of, how the CBA
he won't retire because he loses that money, but
yes, yeah, that's part of the thing too. But it's scary, and it's a big albatross, and I have to update that story every offseason because it's just one of those like
we have our own Bobby Bonilla.
I mean, yeah, something similar. But yeah, so I mean, looking at some RFAs, Jeff, I mean, there's guys like Timo Meier's going to resign. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. But would you throw an offer sheet on Trevor Zegras?
Yes. Oh, 100%. Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, like, you look at guys like him, there's some other guys, let's see, like Vince Dunn, no. Dubois, no. I mean, there's not a ton of guys like that, but I mean, like K'Andre Miller, maybe. I mean, like Zegras would be kind of the guy, but I think honestly, let's be honest. Like, I'd throw away half the draft for Trevor Zegras right now.
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat.
I mean, like that's a known quantity, right? I mean, that's part of what I'm also very curious to see what happens this week, because with all these draft picks, like, why not take a swing? I mean, why not sit there and just be like, you know what, Zegras, like, you want to, we're gonna put this out there, and we're gonna force Anaheim's hand. I say I don't really see too huge of a downside for a guy like Zegras.
No, I don't either. I mean, you either pay him money and you get him on your team, or you make the Anaheim Ducks pay him a lot of money. I mean,
yeah, I'm trying to
especially if you're going after a guy like DeBrincat, who you're gonna have to pay money to. Like, why not if he's not available?
Right. See,
I think it's a fun exercise to just think about where your money would be allocated if you have no DeBrincat, but you have a Zegras. Like, I think how does that change the dynamic of the team? I'd be interested to think about that a little bit more. But
yeah, I'm looking at seeing what the buy, like, because I mean, Zegras is he's on his rookie deal, isn't he?
Yes.
Right. And so I mean, his AAV was, like
$750,000 or whatever, or $900,000.
Yeah. So I mean, like, honestly, like, it's kind of like, it's not like it's going to be one of those ones where it's a guy who's like making $5 million or more and you have to give up 4 first-round picks.
Yeah.
I mean, so he was in range right now. I mean, he'd be like a third or a second. I mean, I'm not even sure how exactly this would work out, but I mean, why not?
Why not? I know, why not?
The man's going to be asking for a lot of money, and justifiably.
Yeah, I mean, what did Cole Caulfield get? Like, I can't remember what he signed to.
I thought it was a pretty decent.
It wasn't 8, was it?
It might have been 7.8.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
close enough.
Yeah, short kings, get it, buddy. I appreciate that. 5'7",
scores a lot of goals. Scores a lot of goals, baby.
As somebody who's 5'7", let me tell you the one thing that to know about guys who say they're 5'7", they're 5'6". So
they're not 5'7", yeah.
Well, that's like 6 feet. Guys are actually all 5'11". Like, I'm 5'11", and I remember I told my doctor, I was like, this is bullshit, because I would rather just be 5'9", 5'10", or 6'2". Like 5'11" does nothing for me, because
Is it rough? Is it rough, Chase, being 5'11"? Is that hard for you?
Because I can't say 6 feet. Like I can never do it because they're like, you're not 6 feet and you're not all. But also 5'11" just doesn't. It does. If you say 5'11" to a lot of people, that's like 5'11" to like 5'8" is all in the same stratosphere.
So there's like the meme
know.
of like the 6 foot plus, and it's Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Yes.
And 5'11" lower, and it's Kevin Hart.
Brian, we're looked at the same. Like 5'11" and 5'7".
We are absolutely no. Don't even give me that. Don't even give me that.
Jeff, how tall are you?
I'm like 5'10".
Okay.
5'9.5", 5'10", depends on what shoes I'm wearing.
So I'm the king of the pod here.
You are, because my strong half Japanese genetics were ensured that I wouldn't grow past 5'6", 5'7". Took me until I was 32 to be able to grow facial hair properly. So
it's so weird because a lot of my family is over 6 foot, but I just don't.
Yeah, it's not necessary. Like I have 5'11".
5'10" is totally fine for me. I don't care. It's totally fine. It works.
5'10".
You can still score goals. I can't score them as well as Cole Caulfield, but I can still score goals.
I just want to say I'm 6 feet. Like it's so.
You are. You basically are. You basically are. Just
you say that.
Fine.
I'm not, because no one. I will always be called on it. If I'm like, I'm basically 6 feet, they're like, but you're not. You're not 6 feet.
Mm-hmm. Well, these people aren't going like this, talking to you, looking down when they're like, "Hey, you're not 5'7". So
that's true.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's okay.
All right, so Jeff, I have one more question before we go. And you know what, Chase, you can answer.
Can I throw one other thing about this?
Yeah, go for it.
The thing with my research in Kristol, he's the pick here because you want to do a long-term play if you're Barry Trotz. You know who his best friend is?
Who's that?
Connor Bedard. You want to do a long-term play there where you bring him in. He's happy with the culture. If Bedard and things go awry in Chicago,
surely the culture is not going to be a problem in Chicago.
I mean, okay. So
you do a long-term play. You bring in the guy who might bring in the main guy 5 years from now.
I'm going to say this right now. Connor Bedard said that Andrew Kristol was the smartest player he has ever played with or against.
I think that's a good reason to, just take the flyer. Just bring him in.
You can teach skating, but you can't teach a hockey mind, man. That's what I'm going to say right now. I played with a lot of great skaters that don't know the game at all, and they mess up because of it. So
we've decided Kristol's the pick.
Yeah, I guess so.
I would fall to my knees. I'd be so happy. That would be great. I would love that, especially if they get somebody at 15 too. Like that's really like if they snag Braden Yeager at 15 and then Andrew Kristol at 24. I'm leaving. I wouldn't need to be there for anything else. That's a success.
There you go. Are y'all both going to be there on? Or you'll be at the beach? No, you will not be at the beach.
I will be there. I will be at the awards too, but I'll be at the draft. I'll be at the first day. I think I'm leaving the second day. I don't really need to be there the second day.
Yeah, I know. I was looking at my schedule for work, and I was like, do I want to go Thursday? I'm like, I'll stop in, but I don't know that I want to be there for all of when it gets to the dregs of like the entertainment for the day. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like it's just going to be people calling in their picks. It's not going to be anything special.
Yeah, not everybody's going to be picking a Yuso Parson in the second day.
I know, right?
Okay, so I already told you guys kind of my idea for my like hot take, like what something cool that I'd like to see happen, even though it probably won't. And that's all for Sheeting Zegras. What would you just, if you could do anything or whatever, what would be your controversial, spicy take or move this week? What would you want, Jeff?
Trading UC Saros.
Mine too.
Well, here's the thing.
You set us up for that, Brian.
I did. I really did, and I should have seen it coming.
Now that I say it, I don't know if that's actually my choice. But let's see. I mean, I'd like to see them sign Alex DeBrincat, or trade for Alex DeBrincat. Like I think if you are not going to trade UC Saros, and that doesn't seem to be on the table right now, which there have been calls apparently. I think you got to do your best to use the cap space that you just opened up and bring in somebody, and that, or trade up in the draft and get somebody. I don't need them to trade up in the draft. I think people that want them to trade up in the draft are being a little too hopeful, because that rarely happens, at least in the first round. But I think, you just got to swing for the fences this week. Like I think if you get an offer for UC Saros that's another first round pick this year, where you can have 3 first rounders. Like, I think that's. I know it sucks. I know it sucks.
Makes a lot of sense hockey wise. Makes a ton of sense hockey wise.
I think you gotta listen. Like, I think it's crunch
Look,
time
you got
now.
the Askarov stuff behind you, Brian. You're ready for the Askarov era anyway. You're basically pushing for it anyway. You're advertising this era.
Oh Lord, something like that, Chase. Something like that. Okay, well, and then that would have been your answer.
Matvey Michkov is in New York. He's in North America. He's coming to Nashville. Trade up, baby. Give me Matvey Michkov.
Or trade up and get Will Smith. They could swing that.
I love Will Smith. I would love that. He's so
I get to
fun.
recycle all the memes from the Will Smith in New Orleans days. Like, I get to recycle those memes. Like, it'll be good.
Yeah. I think anyway, I think if you're not trading UC Saros, which it doesn't seem like it is, I think you got to sign or trade for a big guy. Or not sign, I guess it's not July, but trade for a big name, and that should be Alex DeBrincat.
Yeah,
bring him in, baby. I want him in.
What about speaking of bringing in youth? What about unrestricted free agent Michael Bunting, the 27-year-old Calder finalist?
God.
It's fun. It's really one of my favorite jokes to make because the man's just old. I mean, it's kind of,
he was there for the crucifixion of Jesus Christ.
Yes, him and Hendon Hooker. It's fine, but like it's funny because nobody called me out on it that I made so many Bunting jokes and then was a huge Hendon Hooker fan. They're both had kids and stuff. So
because I was writing about the Red Wings at the time that was happening, I was getting feedback from Toronto fans in my mentions that were like, "Dude, shut up." Yeah, I was like, come on, it's kind of like at some point it's kind
Michael
of funny.
Bunting goes to Golden Corral at 3:30 to eat dinner. Like it's just a fact.
it's such like people are so creative with it too. Like if it was just the same thing, like the banner jokes are all stupid because they're all the same thing. Mm-hmm. But like the Bunting ones were so funny because people just like were just so creative with it. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they call him Bunting because batting wasn't invented until after he was born. Like, so.
Yeah, like that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, it's going to be a fun week, and we'll have a whole bunch to talk about next week, I think, Chase.
Yes, sir.
I think so. Well, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over on theforecheck.com ahead of it?
I don't think really anything's happening this week, so I'm not quite sure. There'll be a bunch. There'll be a lot. There'll be lots and lots of stuff. I'll be there splitting time between my 2 day jobs, and it's going to be exciting. I'm really excited to be there. Mostly, I think the biggest part of it is just seeing all these people that I don't get a chance to normally see. But it's going to be interesting to get there. It's first draft of any sort that I've ever been to. So I'm very excited to go to the Hockey Boy auction. So
there you go. Hockey Boy. Brian Bastin, Jeff Middleton, always a pleasure, and I will talk to y'all next week.
Well done, nephew. Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.